What are the 4 real mistakes which chess players make? In this video, I'm going to tell you the 4 mistakes which you should avoid if you are a chess player and the solutions to these mistakes which are given by the top players in the world. So without further ado, let us get started. Hello everyone, my name is Heramb and today we are going to discuss the 4 alarming advices given by super grandmasters and world champions which will take your game to the next level in the next 5 minutes. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first advice is by our own former world champion Vishy Anand, and he says you have to just take one game at a time. And now let me just explain this advice in much more detail so that you can understand what exactly he means and how you can use this advice to take your game to the next level. So whenever we are playing a tournament and we are playing the first half of the tournament well, then automatically we start expecting prizes, an increase in rating, winning all the future matches and so on. However, all the strong players know that this automatically guarantees failures. And the reason behind this is you shift your focus from chess to something else, and that's the reason you cannot focus on the game, and this leads to lots of losses and bad plays in the rest of the half of the tournament. Another thing which I have discovered from my own research is psychology says you cannot do 2 things at the same time. And if you don't believe me, I will just give you a small test so you can try it out at your home. So you can take a pen in your left hand and another pen in your right hand. And all you need to do is you need to draw a square with the left hand and draw a circle with the right hand. And believe me, it's impossible to do it because this is psychology, but still try it and you will understand the reason behind this advice and why it is so effective and it's used by all the strong players out there. So use it and you can see exponential growth yourself. So the next advice is by Vasily Smyslov, who was a Russian grandmaster and a former world champion, and he says that your task is to play 40 good moves. Now, let me just again explain this advice in little bit of detail. So generally, players are obsessed about winning, that they have to win the game in any circumstances and they can do anything to win the game. However, this approach is not very practical because it depends upon your opponent, basically if he plays well or he doesn't play well. So what Smyslov says is you play 40 good moves, and if your opponent makes a mistake, then you will be automatically win the game because you played all the good moves. And if he also plays well, he doesn't make a mistake, then the game will end in a draw. So this is another very practical approach because all you need to do is find one good move after another and play 40 good moves. And then whatever happens, it depends upon your opponent. So you can use this advice in your games and you can see the entire focus will shift from the results to playing good moves, which is a very good sign so that you can focus completely on playing good moves and not focus on results. And that's the only way to sort your mind. So use it and let me know what it brings you. The third advice is by Svetozar Gligorić, who was again a chess grandmaster and a very strong player. And he said that he plays against the pieces. So that is his advice, that you should play against the pieces and not focus on the opponent. So what does he exactly mean? Let us understand and try to go deep into this advice. So basically, Gligorić means that our main opponent, the real opponent, is not the person sitting in front of us who is playing with all the moves. The real opponent is the position on the board. And let this thought just sink in so that you can understand what I'm talking about. And then if you apply this and you just focus on the position without worrying about who is sitting in front of you, whether it's a higher rated player, whether it's a lower rated player, whether it's an international master, whether it's a grandmaster, then you can get phenomenal results because this advice has personally worked very well for me. And I have played a lot of games with this advice, and it has helped me defeat titled players and very, very strong players just following this simple advice. So all you need to do next time you play a game of chess is follow this advice. Don't look at who your opponent is, just focus on the position and play against the pieces, because the real enemy is the position on the board and not the person sitting in front of you. The next advice is by a very strong grandmaster who needs no introduction, Levon Aronian. And he says you have to press your opponent with instant opening play. And what does he exactly mean? So a lot of times, many young players, they know the opening theory, but they still sit and they think about what to play the next move just because they want to make sure that they won't make a mistake or they won't make a blunder. However, Aronian's advice is something completely different. He says if you know the opening and you have prepared it at home, then you should play the opening moves instantly, and if you want, you can even stare into the eyes of the opponent. Okay, that looks quite scary, that looks quite dangerous, but what's the logic, what's the reason behind it? The reason is, when you do this approach, when you play instant moves, then your opponent feels nervous, your opponent feels scared inside. And he will start thinking and he will start calculating variations, spending time. However, the moment he spends some time and plays his move, you immediately respond with your move in a second. And with this approach, your opponent thinks that, oh, my opponent is so well prepared, this guy is so well prepared, he knows everything. But the reality is, you may get a very small advantage or even no advantage from the opening. However, this will give you lots and lots of time, because your opponent is going to think, feel nervous. It's a strong possibility he makes a mistake. So these are all the 4 advices that are given by one of the best players in the world. So use these advices. I will just summarize all of them quickly. So number 1 is given by Vishy Anand, and it says that you should play one game at a time. So play one game at a time. Do not worry about prizes, about results, about rating, and so on. The second advice is by Smyslov, and he says that you should play 40 good moves. If you can do that and your opponent makes a mistake, then you win the game. And if you can do that, your opponent does not make a mistake, the game ends in a draw. And the third advice is by Gligorić, and he says that the real enemy is not the person sitting in front of you, but it's the position on the board. So you have to play against the pieces and not against the person. And the fourth advice is by the legendary grandmaster Levon Aronian, and he says that you should press your opponent with instant opening play, and if you know the opening, do not hesitate to make a move. Just quickly play the move and let the things happen. So these are 4 amazing advice by one of the top players in the world, and use these advices and let me know in the comment section what you feel about these advices. And once you use these advices, has your game changed? Has it helped you to go forward in the game of chess? So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.